intro scene.
Yeah.
See the rock drop down and all the red minerals go into the spaceship hull.
Red minerals are here.
All I can think about is how would you ever stop Mutila's harassment on that mineral line? There is no room for turrets.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have on the map Eddie. Bottom right is Modesty, aka Kukulza. Top right is Mind. Here we go.
Let's do this. Mind is a great player, but I think I want to say he's like mid-tier right now among all the pros.
It's a funny thing because he always alters between, like, for the last 3 years or so, he's altered between second best Terran and like fifth best Terran over and over, and then he took a little break for a bit, but he's like back at the top of the ladder and everything. Like, he's extremely, extremely good and very, very solid, and like he's one of the only players that will actually make it relatively deep into these tournaments. But it's been a long time since I've watched mine and been like, oh, this is championship play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. He's looked good, but he's definitely made some pretty grave errors in his play. Occasionally he comes in here with a strategy where you can see the idea behind it, but a lot of times the execution is not so clean, or maybe it's a little bit anachronistic to the current meta. So let's see how he comes in here and how he plays today.
Yeah, you know, I don't really think of him as a micro-Terran or a macro-Terran. You know?
Sure.
A lot of people fall into those. And I don't think of him as an aggressive Terran or a defensive Terran. He's pretty flexible overall. He's 8s on everything.
I like that.
Maybe a 10 on brain and an 8 on everything else.
Yeah. I actually think Modesty is like a very ideal opponent, though, for mine to go up against. I do think this is going to be our closest match. Really? I think it's maybe slightly Modesty favored.
Yeah, I feel like it is slightly Modesty flavored. Like we saw in that win. Yeah, flavored. Tastes like Kukulza. But yeah, I mean, his record didn't really do justice to how strong his ZvT is. He's a very, very, very good ZvT player, and he will bring great builds and really good Mutalisk micro. So
yeah,
I think that the sharpness of his play can be a little bit difficult at times for some of these Terrans to deal with.
Yeah, I agree with you. By the way, we've got a wall-in coming up here inside the main. Now, this can look like you're fast expanding here, but it's not the case at all. We actually have the factory being made over here. And he can pop out with a Vulture pretty quickly and come in here and put a little bit of pressure on.
Yeah, and of course, you know, that's something that you really have to take very, very seriously. Looks like Modesty is actually going to hide his third hatch over here. Yeah, look at that.
That's a very unusual
Yeah, it's one of those spots where you'll probably scout it pretty late, so it could be very strong because of that. I'm interested to see, though, what strategy Mind uses. I'm pretty sure that Modesty is going to be aware that this is likely a factory, because that wall-in, otherwise, like, the Marines pop out on the outside. So if you're trying to go bio, you're just not going to be able to produce.
You know, getting the third base up and secured for the Zerg in any kind of ordinary ZvT is, I would say, the most important mission objective. If you could think of the game as a set of mission objectives in multiplayer, that really is one of the key things. If you're not intending to end it immediately, is to get the third base up. And it's much less about the minerals and much more about the gas. Having a third gas can allow you to support hive tech, and especially if you get a fourth or fifth gas up, that's when the Zerg is a real powerhouse.
Yeah, and that's especially important. Like, for instance, if you're playing against SK, it's a little slightly different when you're playing against some sort of mech play or something like that. Sometimes you need a lot of units with that. But let's see how Modesty wants to actually approach this. Looks like the SCV is running around kind of looking, seeing if it can find out where this other hatchery is.
Yeah, let's see how this goes.
Yeah, the Vulture coming down. Some nice pressure from Mine.
And so the Vulture continues to come up here and poke. We got the Armory coming down here. And this is really interesting to see this coming out right now, and what exactly we're going to have in store here. Because with this mech here, it's going to be very hard to ever kind of come in and breach this location on the far left. What is your take on Terran's position here? Because this is a little bit of a kind of off-color opening for me. Well, hold on a second. Getting these two Vultures is huge.
Yeah, I mean, you got one. There's a wall up. Oh, God. Well, you got to not just land that, but probably bring something to repair. Anyways, it's just the Goliath build, right? So
Yes.
it's not bad. It comes down a lot to your execution, to your decision-making of what to do. Now, he's found that third base, but there's not a lot he can really do against it right now.
Seems like it. Is this a game where the Terran just wants to try to push into the natural and kill the main? Is that more important than trying to stamp out expansions everywhere?
100% with the Goliath build. Good call there, Tasteless. You generally, with the Goliath build, if you're trying to stamp out expansions, that's the wrong way to go about it. You want to hit very sharp, hard timings.
Yeah.
You want to move directly towards the main base and see if you can knock them out there. Basically, there will be the first move out. You'll have, what is it? It's like 8 to 10 Goliaths, and you're going to have an upgrade at that point, generally armor, but some people get attack. I don't know what's wrong with those people, but whatever. Yeah, and you're going to try to force them to continually make units. Then you're going to move out again with a killing blow attack. A lot of times it has a couple siege tanks in it.
Now, if I'm not mistaken here, this is basically a build order that he gave up a little bit of economy to try to attack out with those vultures. It would have been, in fact, better had he just gone directly into expand and attack. Is that right? Is this push going to be a little bit weaker because of that?
No, I think the vulture play is all right. Like, for instance, he just scouted that there's a Hydralisk den, and that's really important to see right now. You know, you have to play quite differently if you're playing against Mutalisks or playing against Hydras, because Hydras have a timing they can hit and do the damage to you, right? If you don't have a bunker up or siege tanks or a nice concave Goliaths, whereas obviously if they go Mutas, you need to have some turrets up and your Goliaths in position for that. So I feel like Mind got done what he needed to get done with those vultures, even though they didn't do a lot of damage. And that's going to help him to make the right decisions moving forward here.
It is a funny thing, the Goliath, the nature of that unit against Zerg, where initially it's not really good against anything, but when it gets high enough in numbers, it can be incredibly strong against air or ground. It seems like that is because of the cost of the Goliath and the rate at which it comes out.
Yeah. So a Goliath builds in 25 seconds, so it's like relatively quick. It's very easy to macro out. You know, 100 minerals, 100 gas, has the same build time as a supply depot, so it's like all you do is some simple math, and you're like, okay, I will never miss a Goliath. You know, it's not like vultures or something that gets very complicated. And it's just like a pretty good support, right? If you're, like, let's say you're doing a siege tank marine push. The siege tanks can get picked off. It gets a little bit tricky, whereas the Goliaths have such range, and they body block very, very well. What, are you going to run in there with Zerglings? No, I mean, the Goliaths are so fat, they're going to block everything.
I'd say they're among the most controllable units for Terran, right?
They're actually a little bit clunky.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, I mean, it's not bad, but yeah, it's not bad. I don't want to complain about it. There's only a couple units that are actually really hard to control as Terran. The SCV and the Valkyrie really are the ones where we're like, what? Like, how do you even
I guess that's true. Most of the units are fairly responsive. For Protoss, it's Dragoons, and Templars are a total headache. DT is very responsive. Zealots are, they do whatever you tell them to do.
Oh, they do more than that.
And then I guess Zerg has the most responsive units, right? If we really think about it, like all the
They're
Zerg
pretty
units,
responsive.
Zerg is probably the most responsive.
Cool.
Then I guess Terran, then probably Protoss, because Reavers also bug out.
Well, here's that push, right? Like, he skipped the first push because he's not really playing against Mutas. This is the second one that actually has siege tanks involved.
Yeah, and that's a real threat to the Hydras here. So some players go into a Mutalisk race where they're going to try to get so many Mutas, even though the Goliaths are the natural counter to air. If Zerg has enough bases, specifically enough gas, then you can have so many Mutas that you'll just roll over the army. But in this case, Zerg went into a very different direction, which was to mass up Hydras. Now, and again, I'm going to be deferring to you here, Artosis. The Terran has ended at Dark Swarm. Is that correct?
Ended? I wouldn't say so. Like, Mech can deal with Hive Tech in various ways, right? Like, siege tanks in siege mode just do, like, pretty well. And then, obviously, you can get into mines at that point. I think that the tricky part becomes securing your extra bases and then making sure that you can get up to things like Irradiate. Because eventually you want to be buying things that aren't Goliaths. And if you ever lose your Goliaths and you've been buying things that aren't Goliaths and they switch into Mutas, the game will end.
Okay.
Right? Like, you're going to lose all your tanks, and that's going to be unrecoverable. So you have to kind of skirt that line. And really, I guess, that's part of the reason why Queens got very popular lately, is some of these mech builds. Because, again, like, the Goliaths, they don't fare poorly, but as you see the macro really kicking in, the amount of Hydras is so much higher that you really need your siege tanks. Like, without them, you have no chance. Early on, yeah, you can kind of fight. Later on, oh god, it really comes down to that siege tank splash.
Big run through here, actually. And this is a lot of drone kills, man. And the Vulture's completely worth sacrificing to just get a few worker kills. That knocked that down to 4 over at the third base.
So Modesty is just consistently making his Hydras right now. You can see that Mind is getting ready for possible Hydra drops coming up. Modesty isn't buying anything else. So the right play here is not actually to push as of yet. Just have your supply go up because the mech army will scale much better than the Hydras over time. So we see him getting the starport. I think that what we should be seeing is a second armory and a science facility just get upgrades in the third command center. And if Mine does that, it puts a lot of pressure on Modesty. Like, what do? You're on 3-base Hydra? It's like, well, you're not going to beat maxed out mech with that, that's for sure.
So does a Terran just try to come out and take a third base here, and then just let the game propel itself into a maxed out play?
Exactly.
And if it does happen, does the Zerg want to then try to rely on drops? Because, one issue with a Terran on 2 base is the Zerg in this spot, it's very hard to really do any damage to the Terran at all.
It's not going to happen.
The Terran, a lot of times, this is one of the great ways to play Terran, is to lock yourself up and start almost playing single player in a sense, and race up and macro up into a push where the Zerg just kind of has to sit back and wait and play a race of their own.
Yeah, it can get tough, and we saw Mine did exactly what I was talking about there. He's adding a third command center, science facility, and second armory. So he's really identified this. And look, he's even reducing the drone count. This is like Terran mech bread and butter. If you can trade vultures for your opponent's economy while you're actually building up your higher tech gas units, it's beautiful. It's just exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, it's the ideal situation is you stay back, you keep powering up, and the Vultures, which are basically expendable. I mean, a Vulture costs almost as much as a worker. Think about that. It comes with mines.
50% more, and that's it.
Yeah, it comes with mines. It's fast. It can scout. It can two-shot workers. So if Vultures get in there, they're most likely going to pay for themselves and a lot more. And then, of course, your gas, while those Vultures are harassing, your gas goes into tanks and Goliaths and other better units. My God, he almost lost that CC there.
Yeah,
I'm actually surprised Modesty didn't pounce on that a little bit more, because had he got the CC, that would have equalized everything.
I tell you, that would have been real bad for Mind if he lost that CC. I'm just sitting here, mouth agape, wondering what's going on. Can't be doing that. Okay, so this is a good amount of siege tanks. Now, Modesty has to make some choices here. Is he going to try to jump upon this? Is he going to try to go into Queens? Will he switch up his tech? Is he going to mass expand? He's got to do something, because sitting here going 4-hatch Hydra, that's not the way to win, not against this many siege tanks.
And the Terran's economy and supply and everything has actually exceeded the Zerg's. You can see Zerg is taking more bases now, but I'm getting a little bit worried here. As a few more depots finish up, Terran's going to be rapidly approaching maxed out, especially with all the factories that are now operational in this game. And from there, we're going to have a push. And Hydras are funny in that they can kind of counterattack, but not as well as you would think. They can be thwarted with some well-positioned tanks and mines while the full push is still coming out. It's very different from, like, the Protoss trying to counterattack the Terran, where Zealots and Dragoons are actually incredibly strong until they're fighting a huge number of Terran units.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like this game, Modesty has lost his timing for any queens. It doesn't feel like he can make a giant group of queens and then wait for the energy and then cast Broodling and then wait for the energy again and cast Broodling again, and thus gain an advantage. So he's got to do something else. We see the Queen's Nest coming down, likely for Hive. Yeah, I feel like Mine is just playing too smartly here. Modesty was really looking for Mine to move out with his initial set of mech units, and he just refused to do so. And the fact that every time these Vultures are coming in and massacring drones, not good for our Zerg player.
This has been among the most passive games we've had here at KSL. It's actually, to be honest, about as straightforward of a StarCraft game as you could ask for.
Yeah.
If you had to teach like somebody a game, this is the easiest one to probably show them, is that they're both sitting back, powering up, but one guy keeps sending Vultures out, killing a certain number of drones, and the numbers at the top right speak for themselves, 50 supply away from maxing out. Mind is going to eventually be coming out to push and trying to squash the Zerg.
And you will squash the Zerg.
I think so.
Because you just, I mean, max out mech. It's the most cost-efficient thing you can get. Look, he's on 2-2 upgrades. My God. Like, he's got 3-3 on the way, even. Things are looking very, very good for our Terran player in Game 1.
Oh, great. Another snipe over there. Now, I think what Zerg's going to set up and do is both a drop and a counterattack. So essentially 2 counterattacks when Terran moves out.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, what is this cluster on the center right? I thought those were Overlords over there. Is that not?
I think it's Overlord Hydra. So
okay.
it could be for a drop. Obviously, you want to keep some Overlords around for mines, detecting them.
Right. And so the Hive Tech is coming up here. I think we finally do have Hydras, by the way, in the lower left base, albeit pretty late. But well, good to see him finally get that set up over there because...
Yeah, it does feel very late. He was waiting in a concave to try to kill the mech when it moved out. But look at what the mech army looks like now.
Yeah.
This is
a real
powerful
threat.
I think you just have to counterattack. There's just, like, there's no way on Earth that these Hydras can beat that army. It is just not going to occur.
What about on the planet that is the map, Eddie? What about
not there either.
Not there, not on Earth, not on this planet either. I think you're right. I think this is going to be smashing.
This is, yeah. I mean, he's up 50 supply right now, which it's not as big as you would think because Hydras only cost 1 supply. Every mech unit costs 2.
Macro
so there are a
Terrans,
lot.
Macro Terrans all over the world with their arms folded, nodding their heads slowly as this push comes down.
That's basically it. I'm like, yes, Mind made the right choices. You wanted a free win there, Modesty, and you didn't get it.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Okay, so the push comes in here now. One of the reasons why this is so strong, and by the way, D-Matrix, so good that Goliath never actually died.
You see that? Did he lose any supply? He lost like 6 supply and killed everything.
Yeah. I can't believe the Goliath with D-Matrix still didn't die.
Yeah. I mean, there's just... Well...
GG.
All right.
All right. That's about as straightforward of a game as you can ask for.
That is for sure. Well, I mean, that's... Mine just kind of made the right choices. He opened up with a walled-in Goliath build.
Yes.
And there's a lot of different things Modesty could do. He chose to do this build that if Mind were to attack, Modesty would win the game right there.
Yeah.
Mind... I identified what was going on via his vultures running around quite a bit, for the most part. That's how he figured it out. And he made the right calls in changing his build-up, right? He went into the 3rd command, the double armory, you know, got his upgrades and just waited until his unit composition could not possibly lose. That was very much a game of about 3 decisions and solid macro.
Yeah, you know, also, Zerg doesn't have to go Hydras there, by the way.
Absolutely not.
You
Most
can
people
avoid
do
that.
not.
And a lot of players will go for Mutalisks, and I think it's actually a better approach, a more active approach to the matchup.
It's definitely, you get a lot more play. The Terran will have to move out quite a bit against the Mutas. You'll actually get to move in and see if you can do damage. The Goliath build is not broken. It was broken for like, I don't know, a couple weeks. But yeah, it's a build people do know how to play against. And well, that's one strat you can try against it, but it's definitely not guaranteed to work.
Okay, so we're going to go to the map Circuit Breakers for game number 2 here. This is a huge map. A lot of different ways to approach this for the Zerg and for the Terran. We're going to have to wait and see what kind of game we're going to have here. But so far, it's Mind up with a 1-0 lead.
Yes, indeed. It's looking good for him in Circuit Breakers. I mean, that's a big map. A lot of Terran players do like it, but obviously it's Modesty's map choice, so it seems like he's feeling comfortable here as well.
I don't think if we have the Goliath build coming here again, Modesty will opt to go for Hydras.
Yeah,
but can you Goliath build on this map?
You can Goliath build on every map, but this map is not nearly as good for it, in my opinion. It's
yeah.
Just,
seems like
the
it's
map
too
is much
big.
bigger. I think 1-1-1 is better. I think, you know, Bioplay is better. Like, yeah, I mean, you can go Goliath build anywhere, but I don't see the point of it here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you could go for it, but if you have 5 maps to play on, why would you do it here?
Yeah.
Do it on a map where it's the strongest, get the free win, and then move on. And I don't know what the deal is. We're still trying to get into this game. So I think we're going to have to buy a little bit more time here at Toast, as it looks like there's some air going on. Hopefully we'll get these guys into the game soon.
Yeah.
And get this started.
Well, excited to see what Mind wants to do for his opening here. This is not a map that you wall on, so again, more likely to see a more
All right.
active play.
We're ready to go. This is game 2. All right, game 2 begins now here. We have Mind in the bottom left. We have Modesty in the top left. They've switched sides of the map, Artosis.
Yeah, they were bored of that right side of the map. Let's see if Modesty expands over to 3 o'clock to make the game even. Okay, so now we wait.
Voices of Legend.
The Marine, one of our commentators here at KSL.
Oh, and there's that code that's going to be stolen by somebody on the internet because it's just.
Hopefully he already typed that in.
Hopefully you already typed that in. Otherwise, guys, you know what to do.
That's cheerful. All right.
Yeah. So, here we are going into this match. We have already Modesty. I think the idea can be pretty good to go Hydras, but he got behind early on enough. There's almost not much more to say about that game. I don't think that game is a good demonstration of where Modesty is as a player. We should have much closer, much more action-packed games here.
Totally.
But sometimes, especially if the Terran is doing a very turtley play, and this can happen to Protoss as well, they just lose enough drones or enough probes. And, yeah, I mean, the push coming out, we should watch and see how that's handled, but a lot more significance needs to be weighed in on the workers that were lost early on. Yeah,
you know, Modesty chose a strategy that didn't give himself a lot of what I like to nowadays call play. It really did come down to waiting for Mind to either make a mistake or not make a mistake. And he just, the thing is, it's okay to have a strategy like that, especially in a best of 5, I would say, in a tournament situation where the pressure's on. It's okay to just be like, I'm going to crush him if he comes out.
Right.
But then when he doesn't come out, I think you got to look at that and say, I shouldn't do that again. You know? Mind is on top of things. He's figuring out what's going on. He's not going to walk into a trap like that, because really a build like that is a trap.
Yes, it very much is. There's some shadows and mirrors at the start, and then suddenly when you realize what direction the game's going on, it's very hard to steer it out of that. Now, this game we had Pool and Gas, and later Hatchery here for Modesty. We still don't know what kind of tech it's going to be.
Yeah, it's likely to be a Mutalisk build. It's very, very common right now. What you do is you get a layer that is unbelievably fast. Like, look at this. We're at like 235, and he's going to start his layer right now. There you go. Layer just started. So that gives you ridiculously quick mutas.
Yeah, this is a race to an engagement. Basically, Modesty really wants to start punching holes into Mind right away. This may be just due to the map and it's all pre-planned, or it might even be a reaction from the last game that we had here where, you know, Modesty was forced to play single player and just wait for this push that did come out and smash him. And then Modesty's Muta Harass is quite good.
Ooh, look at this. Okay, so we have something a little bit different from Mind here. He actually just sent another SCV out. That is actually not super duper common, but I think he just wants to dart in and see exactly what he's up to.
Yeah, I mean, there is always a possibility someone does some kind of a lurker cheese or something like that.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's not good, but these are the things that catch you off guard. If you're not ready for everything, sometimes a very offshoot style of play can end up costing you the game.
Yeah. It seems as if Modesty doesn't really know what's going on that much. He's making a creep right now. Don't feel like you really need that? Well, that's a good catch.
Yeah. Good body blocking there.
I mean, every SCV right now has value. They're all very, very important, especially considering there's going to be kind of a fight over them coming up. Now, this is a 1 barracks into Academy. Huh. That's kind of interesting to see the Academy before the second barracks. You don't see that often?
Right.
Because your overall Marine count is going to be so low that if they do not have turret support, you are not going to hold on against the mutas, even if you have medics.
So the SCVs have now been transferred over to the new command center. Now, We understand the idea, I think everybody does, of mutas coming in and harassing in different areas. I think what's not emphasized ever as much is how hard it is for the Terran to deal with the muta harass. It's very frustrating. First of all, you can put all your units on hold position in StarCraft if you don't want them moving around, but a lot of times that's not always the best move. You need your army to basically respond on their own. But Glaives can draw units away. Marines, although they're very strong when they're stimmed as far as damage output, they're very weak when they receive damage. And so overstimming becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Medics getting pulled into damaged SCV patches becomes a problem. And then the Marines are not occupied correctly with the medics to heal up.
Yeah.
Also, you need to have your turrets set up in the right spot. Now, that being said, Muta Micro is among the most skilled techniques that you can master in StarCraft 1 as well. But when you're playing against somebody who has just perfect mutalist control, it's truly incredible, or for the Terran, egregious, what the Zerg can get away with.
Egregious, that's a good word.
Yes.
Yeah, and you see he's getting his turret, so he knows the timing of all this. He scouted it quickly enough that he realized when he needed to start everything. And look at that, he's getting the turrets up just in the nick of time.
Okay, he does pull away. Now, one thing about the Muta harass is because you can escape back over the high ground, you can attack into these turrets, and oftentimes, just statistically, the turrets end up targeting a Muta that isn't as damaged. So you'll end up seeing these Mutas fly around and continue to take hit after hit after hit, and overall the entire clump is damaged. Oftentimes no Mutas killed off, which is another reason why they're so strong in these situations.
Yeah, it takes a while to actually start breaking through that mutalist swarm. You'll see that turrets need to be made pretty consistently against this, but he'll be scanning to figure out, are there mutalisks in production? Is it something else? Oh man, a very strong move from Modesty, actually diving on the mineral line right now, but Mind is there.
Okay, 5 mutas remaining. He does manage to get out, and I think we're in the twilight of this harass. I don't think there's much more he can do here. We don't have a third base taken yet, but we do have drones coming out on the map.
You know, it looks like Modesty is going to go really heavy muta this game. I think he's only producing mutas, in fact. There's all sorts of different ways you can do this type of 2-hash play. You can do non-stop mutas with upgrades. You can Guardian Rush. Obviously, there's all sorts of tech switches with lurkers and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh, these mutas are so weak right now.
Yeah, they're getting bruised, no doubt about that.
Do we have lurker tech up yet?
No, absolutely
we do not, right? Okay, because this is a very economically sparse way to play the game as Zerg.
It is.
It's hard to tech out of this, but the infantry wave is coming. Good dive in there, does kill one muta. Can he get another dive? Sometimes you want the Marines to actually click on one mutalisk.
Yeah, almost every single time. That's exactly what you're looking for. Is when they come towards you, stim and run towards them and target a muta. When they run away, run away. See, just like that. And yeah, I mean, there's 4 mutas that are reasonably damaged, 3 of which are very, very deeply damaged. But he is going to end up losing all of this bio. It is kind of okay because he's drawing the mutas away a little bit. He's keeping the pressure on. He's forcing Modesty to be out here. And he added 2 more barracks before his tech. So the Marines, I mean, it's always terrible to lose a group, but this has bought him a lot of time to add what he wanted at home.
It's very interesting, the relationship that you have with the Marines at this phase of the game. The only thing I can think of that's sort of comparable is Zealots pressuring a Zerg early on, where you can lose some, but it's kind of okay because you have defense at home anyways, and they weren't making drones if you were attacking out. A lot of the same ideas here, where the pressure's off at your base, your infrastructure's fine. Both players have to be very preoccupied with their unit control. And by the way, he has actually switched into full-on muta here.
Yeah,
he is not going to back down. He is going to get so many mutalisks that he intends to smother the Terran. But this is being disguised pretty well here by Modesty so far. He's only showing his 11 mutas, while the rest are actually hidden on the map here. Actually, I guess he's going to show them now because he wants to wipe this out.
He's going to wipe it out, too.
Yeah, but when Terran sees this, you immediately know what's happening. By the way, this really highlights the power of Glaives.
Yeah, when you see that many mutas right now as well, yeah, you see this, he's adding some more turrets right now. You need to get into splash damage, and you need more turrets.
Yeah.
Because this is such a commitment that if you can get into something like +1 Valkyries, or you can get into, you know, Science Vessels that radiate, then you can actually just, kind of suddenly win the game. You know, you cast 3-4 radiates on this type of strategy, and it's not having a good time.
Yeah, it seems like this game would have a length of time where you should just be able to win if you can outlast the Muta onslaught here. But now the Mutas are going to come in here. Now this is just one control group. There's a second one outside, but he is taking out all the turrets. By the way, this structural setup here with the barracks, the fact that it lines the Marines up as they have to move through this ant farm-like shape at the base also favors the Mutas in the engagement. If I'm not mistaken, Artosis, should he just dive in right now and try to kill him? I feel like there's just enough Mutas.
I mean, that's a hard judgment call. He might try something like that, but more turrets are being made during this. Feels like Mind is still alive, that he's not going to die quite yet, but he needs to stay near his turrets. That's for sure.
Going for the bunker here. He does lose about 3 Mutas in this process, though. Again, this is designed to break the Terran.
Yeah.
This is designed to put so much pressure, and the damage builds up so much over time. Again, especially with these glaives. The glaives, as they hit their targets, it spreads through, hitting these other structures and other units, and eventually the Terran can get so brittle that they simply put break.
Yeah, I think in this situation, he's like making enough turrets. You can see how seriously he's taking. Look at that, 7 turrets facing that side of his base. I know he has 4 to 5 in the natural already as well. Yeah, look at that, making them in almost random spots because they need to buy time for the Marines to come and help as well.
Yeah, he basically, in a sense, almost wants to overmake turrets.
Yes, yes.
If there's just too many turrets.
In a game like this, you can only overmake and undermake turrets. Those are the only 2 options. There's no perfect number, because it gets really crazy at that point.
And if you can get up into a science vessel with a radiate, you're going to win the game, basically.
Yeah, you need it. In this game, he's going to need like 3, 4 radiates, and that should be able to end it, I would say.
By the way, I believe we're going to go into Guardian tech here, which actually is not a bad idea because a radiate does not really save the day against Guardians. Guardians very easily split off from each other. Mutas are fast, and they clump together so tightly that it's hard to get the irradiated Muta out. And also, a radiate just does a lot of damage to the Mutalisks. And so,
well, they're in that flock, so you get like 1,000 damage off of an irradiate, right?
Right,
so
right.
It's gigantic, but like you said, a lot of people don't realize that irradiate is not actually really the counter to a Guardian Rush.
No, it's
and
not.
I know that this is kind of delayed. It's not the quickest Guardians that you can get, but you're forcing so many Marines out of your opponent that their tech is very tight trying to get up there. And right now, Mind is only on 1 starport. He only has 1 gas. Like this, I think Guardians could be a very good choice here. It might be the way for Modesty to win this game.
So the Mutas are now gathered up outside of this natural, and here's where we're going to see the Guardians come into play. Now, in a funny way, Mind was forced to race into this science vessel to answer to the Mutas, but Modesty's about to tech switch out of this very gracefully, and now we have to see if Mind can handle this. Now, this is a game where it can't go on for another 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, either the Guardian Rush is going to work or Terran's going to push out and smash him.
It's kind of like either this push is going to work or the Guardian Rush is going to kill him.
Yes.
I think the closest way to say it. Like, he's nailing this. He's moving out right before the Guardians. He knows that right now Modesty wants to bank gas and go do that. Look at this. Modesty with the counterattack? Really?
Yeah, I don't know about this unless he's got...
No, I guess...
The thing is, his third base isn't in another main with 2 lurkers guarding it on the ramp, so I don't... I mean, the infantry army can just bash through this. So, yeah, the Mutas are going to have to come back. Now, if Zerg can win this fight, if he needs to pull this out immediately. Okay, here we go.
I think Modesty will break these Marines.
The science vessel goes down. Well, hold on a second. This is a lot of Mutas.
Maybe not.
Oh, wow.
That was a hard one to tell, actually.
No, yeah, it's tricky when you have that many Mutas.
Does he have 1/1? He does have 1/1. Wow. And did the Mutas not have +1 armor?
No, I believe they only have attack.
That felt better for Mind than I thought it was going to be.
GG,
yeah.
Okay, 2-0 lead. Mind crushing it today.
Yeah, that was a very nice attack. I felt like his irradiate was a little bit early there. I feel like you want to do that as the battle begins rather than right before, because then it gives him less time to pull it out. But nice attack there from Mind. He played a solid game.
Now, kind of a funny series so far. We've had in one game Modesty go hardcore into Hydra tech. The second game he goes hardcore into Muta tech, and both of them Mind shuts him down.
Yeah. Well, you know, he's a 1-unit wonder at the moment.
So far he is, yeah.
And the wonder part is wondering if he's ever going to make a second type of unit. We didn't even see Zerglings.
Did you know that there are lurkers in this game?
What do they do?
Nobody knows.
They probably lose to Marines as well, so I don't even care.
Yeah, no defilers, no lurkers, no ultras.
Yeah, he's
Nothing,
just
man.
He's not ticking up.
We are having a very intense lock-in to a certain tech here for Modesty, and it is failing as Mind is basically playing a very healthy, clean transitional game that is allowing him to tech into the solution each time.
That's right.
Guys, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, game number 3. Don't go away.